Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Plot podcast. In today's episode, we're joined by the brilliant author Hannah Doyle, whose warm, witty, and deeply relatable storytelling has won over readers everywhere. Hannah is known for exploring modern life, relationships, and the beautifully messy reality of being human. We're also celebrating the release of her latest book, The Long Haul, which is due to be released this month. Very exciting for Hannah. It's her sixth book and it has such a great twist. I know you're all going to really, really enjoy it. We'll chat about the inspiration behind her new book, her writing journey, and what continues to drive her creativity as an author. So sit back, relax, listen to Hannah's story, and don't forget to comment, like, or hit the subscribe button now. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Hey, Hannah, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for joining on today's podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. We've got a sunny day here in Sheffield, which doesn't usually happen. So I'm celebrating already.
Oh, early, I feel like the weather it's started quite early for spring, which is nice.
Yeah, it's confusing though. The flowers are coming out. I'm not sure anyone knows really what's happening. And I feel like winter's just going to come back and punch us in the face soon enough.
Well, because when we were back, I think because we were back there for 2 years, the first year that we were back, I can remember being in April and it was so cold to the point that we were still wearing gloves and hats and scarves. And I was thinking, we're in April, it's spring. Why is it this cold? And then last year it was actually quite pleasant. So you just never know, do you?
No, it's ridiculous. I'm quite keen to pack away all my fluffy jumpers now because I feel like I've had enough of them and it's time for some sunny stuff. But I just know that it's not quite ready. Maybe by, I don't know, June, July.
Yeah.
It will be time.
You hope then the heating is off.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
You can wear some summer attire. Well, thank you for joining. Before we step into your story, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners out there?
Sure. So I am Hannah Doyle. I am a rom-com author and I've written 6 rom-coms now. I write fresh, funny, relatable, contemporary romance. And my next novel, which is my 6th, is called The Long Haul and it'll be out in May. And with The Long Haul, I've done a kind of genre mashup. So it's still a rom-com, but it's also got a time loop twist to it. So it's kind of stepping into sci-fi a little bit as well. So it's been enormous fun to write this one.
Amazing. And your 6th book, wow. That's such an achievement in itself, right? Do you pinch yourself sometimes to be like, God, I'm an author. I've got my books out there. People are reading them all around the world.
It feels so weird, because when I first started writing, it was 2016 that was when my first book came out. And I also had my kids around that time as well.
Yeah.
So it feels like even though I've been writing for a while and I have got a few books out now, it feels like it's only really more recently that things have kind of picked up momentum and pace and I'm doing more kind of events and stuff like that, which is I love. It's so nice to get out there and see people and chat romance, but yeah, it definitely feels very strange to be in this position now. It feels very lucky.
And do you do this full time now?
No, well, sort of. I mean, I do work full time at it, I would say. I also have my kids to look after. And I still do a little bit of journalism here and there so that I trained as a journalist. And that's what I was doing before I started writing books.
Yeah.
So I still do a few bits here and there, when the royalties are looking a bit lean and I think, we could do with a boost this month. So I write a few kind of lifestyle pieces, opinion pieces for the lifestyle magazines.
Yeah.
But mostly, yes, writing, I would say, is kind of 90% of my job title, I guess, now.
Yeah, lovely. So let's talk about that then, because obviously you're a journalist before stepping into, crafting your books and becoming a published author. So I read that you used to interview celebrities.
Yes, I did. It was the best fun. So I'd always wanted to write and I've been listening to your podcast. I've listened to a couple of other authors who've said something very similar, which is we never really realize that writing books could be a profession. When you're starting out and you're kind of 18 and you're thinking, where am I going to go with this? I knew I wanted to write. I loved reading. I loved writing. But it never kind of occurred to me that writing books could be a thing. And you hear so much now about kind of creative writing courses and stuff like that people can do at university. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this was 20 odd years ago now, but it just didn't seem like writing books could be my job. So my second love after books was magazines.
Yes.
And I kind of thought, okay, well, if I'm going to make some money out of using words, then let's get trained as a journalist and kind of see what I can do there. So that's how I started out. I did a postgrad diploma in news journalism. And then I moved on to work for a press agency, writing kind of real life features for mostly the lifestyle mags. And then after a year down in Bristol working at a press agency, I was offered a job in London. So moved to London and worked on a showbiz magazine there, which was
Yes.
enormous fun. It was mostly kind of going out to red carpet events, going out to parties, interviewing celebrities during the day, like photo shoots. And
Yeah.
I've done some crazy stuff. I flew to Berlin with Pixie Lott
Oh,
on
wow.
like, she'd sort of chartered this kind of private jet and filled it with journalists. So we all hopped on a private jet with Pixie Lott and just flew to Berlin for the day.
As you do.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Looking back, I'm kind of like, I'm so pleased I did that because it was
Yeah.
like amazing experiences. It was very busy.
Mm.
And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, no, I've got another party to go to tonight. Like, oh, this is really stressful. But actually, looking back, I'm kind of like, yeah, well done. You made the
Yes.
most of your 20s, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and everywhere leads you to where you are now, right? I'm a huge believer of that. So, I mean, in terms of like your journalism and, your writing was incorporated into that as well. What was the moment where you thought, hey, I actually want to use this and write a novel? Like, did it come to you instantly or had you been kind of mulling it over for a while?
I'd always knew that at some point I was going to have to get a book down
Mm.
because it just felt like it was just a feeling because I read so much, particularly when I was younger. Well, still now, to be honest, but before I became an author, I read so many books and I was kind of like, I'm desperate to read more of these books that I love to read. So I'm going to have to write one at some point just because I'd be really interested to see how that goes. But I think it was also a lot of circumstance as well. I'd been in London for 5 years working that job where it was kind of like out every night, lots of partying and stuff. And I'd met my husband by that point and we were getting married and we were also thinking about moving out of the big city
Mm.
and finding somewhere to kind of put some roots down. So he got offered a job here in Sheffield where we live now. And it just felt like a kind of good time I think people with London, you either kind of want to stay forever because you really
Yeah.
love it. And I did really love it. But I also felt like I'd like to go and be able to afford a house,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So this job that he got seemed like kind of perfect timing for us. So we got married and we moved up to Sheffield. I went freelance as well. And there aren't quite so many celebrities here in Sheffield. So it was a bit of a different kettle of fish. But I was really busy. If you make that move from being employed to going freelance,
Mm.
you kind of, I think for a lot of freelancers, you just take on so much work because you're nervous, you're not getting that monthly
Yeah.
salary. So I remember working kind of basically like 7 days a week for a long time and just getting this sort of like bank of money together and then once I've earned enough, I kind of thought, okay, I've got enough to kind of keep tide me over for a bit. So there was a bit of that, but also I lost my stepdad. He died in 2014 and he had a real zest for life. And like in the aftermath of kind of his death, I just remember thinking, God, I need to make the most of my life and just kind of take the opportunities that come my way. And I think it was I'd got the time and the space having moved out of London and also that realization that, why not now or never,
Yeah.
having gone through that sort of grieving process. So yeah, it was a sort of a mixed bag, but I just knew at that point that I was going to have to get those words down.
Yeah, and what made you choose the genre, like the rom-com kind of genre, the romance?
It's just what I read.
Yeah.
And still now, I love a romantic comedy. There's something so uplifting.
Feel good,
Um,
aren't they? They give you
yes,
that, yeah, that all
exactly.
good
It's so
feels.
heartwarming, isn't it? And being in that position where I was kind of writing through that grieving process as well, you'd think maybe that would lead me to write something that was a bit more of a tearjerker. But actually, I found it really cathartic to take that
Yeah,
time and
yeah.
have that space to sort of sit side by side with the whole grief element of
Mhm.
life that wasn't much fun at all. And then to build this world that really was fun. And yeah, just kind of was really uplifting. So yeah, it was always going to be a rom-com because they are my go-to. I do like a crime as well.
Yeah.
and I used to really enjoy reading the kind of Agatha Christie type
Yes.
crimes,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't know where to start with a crime. So yeah, it was a rom-com for me.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I feel like a lot of the time, yeah, you write in the genre that you read, because it makes you happy, right? And I think we just call on kind of experiences. Your brain just starts stepping into that world because you know it so well. I mean, so the inspiration for your first novel, where did that come from?
That my first novel still to this day has not been published, weirdly enough, because again, having listened to your podcast, so many authors will say the same thing. We've all had a really weird route into
Mm,
publishing. It's never been kind of, here's my manuscript, please publish it.
yes.
It's been very sort of odd, like sets of circumstances and stuff. But my first novel, which still is on my computer, was about a woman who was getting married. And that was just because that's what I knew at the time. So I'd
Hmm.
just recently got married to my husband, and I think a few things had gone wrong in the run up to the wedding. Like, I remember being at my friend's hen do, and she was getting married about a year before I was. And on the hen do, I had been laughing so much that I sort of threw my head back, and not realizing that there were like a load of candles behind me.
Oh.
And suddenly I was like, "What's that smell?" And it was my own hair that I'd set on fire. And like, it wasn't that big a deal. It just needed a bit
See?
of a trim. But at the time, you know, when you're a bride to be and you're kind of like, "Oh no, oh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen." Like, I've lost a chunk of my beautiful hair before my wedding day. So there just seemed to be a few bits like that had happened. And I kind of thought, this could make quite a fun
Yeah.
plot, a bride who goes through loads of, you know, ups and downs before her big day. But in the end, so I wrote the manuscript, and I had no clue how to start writing a manuscript. I think
Mm,
now there's loads more information out there, like, you know, but this seemed, I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, but it was like 2013, 2014. There didn't seem nearly as much kind of advice available.
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I remember picking up one of my favorite rom-coms and literally counting how many words there were per
Wow.
page, per chapter, so that
Yeah.
I could kind of figure out how much to write. Like, I had no idea
That's
what to
intense.
do.
It's labor
It was
intensive.
it was a long process, and then I'd got this sort of drawing in my office of like a very basic character arc. I'd literally drawn it on paper and sort of put, you know, big middle bit here, like
Yeah.
crisis here.
Yeah.
So it was very basic back in those days, but yes, it was about a bride who was beset by issues. It didn't get published, but what it did get me was agent representation, which was
Okay.
amazing. So I've kept my agent Amanda since
Yeah.
then. And it also got me a foot in the door with one of the big publishers as well. So they had
Yeah.
a read of it. And the general feedback was that my style was there, but it
Yeah.
wasn't zeitgeisty enough.
Okay.
Kind of, it didn't have enough of a hook, I think, to
Yes.
make it.
And what, so they said to you then, "Hey, we bring us something else," and then
Yeah, so it was a bit of a sort of slight sliding doors situation, because I'd got that manuscript, and my
yeah.
agent, who I met and signed up with, had said, you know, it just needs some work, so we can go
Yeah.
and put some work in, and then I'll send it out for submission. But at the same time, I was approached by Hachette, who
Yeah.
had seen I'd got a blog, and I'd actually been writing about my stepdad and how,
Yeah.
you know, how I was kind of going to grab life by the balls in the
Yeah.
aftermath of his death. So they'd seen that blog post, an editor had read it, and she'd sort of said, you know, I really like your writing style on your blog. Have you ever thought about writing a book? And I was like, yes, here is my manuscript. Please read it. So I'd gone down to London and I met up with her, one of the publishers, and with my potential new agent. I had
Yeah.
two meetings in one day, signed up with my agent, went to meet Hachette, and they said, we like the manuscript. It needs some work. In the meantime, would you like to write an IP for us? So they'd
Okay.
got this idea for what would become my first novel, which was The Year of Saying Yes,
Yeah.
which they'd kind of taken from that blog post I'd written, which
Yes.
was about, you know, just making the most out of life, really. So I kind of went away and had a chat with my agent, and we were like, you know, should we go for this IP, or should we put some work into the manuscript that I'd already written? And I kind of felt, you know, the fact that I'd been approached by one of the big five publishers was
Yeah.
just like, felt ridiculous in the first place. And
Yeah.
I really didn't feel like I could say no to that.
Hmm.
So we ended up going down that route, and I signed with Hachette for my first 2 books.
Amazing. That's so good, though. What did the process look like then? You obviously, from them approaching you to it being released, because your first book was released in 2017, correct?
That
2016.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
What did the process look after that like for you? Did it was it like a lengthy time between you completing the manuscript to it being finally out in the world? Did you do any book tours? And obviously you got a 2-book deal, right? So then the pressure's on to deliver another one as well. So what did that kind of
Yeah.
look like from that moment onwards?
So that first book, The Year of Saying Yes, I think you're right. It came out as a whole book in 2017, but what they actually decided to do was to serialize it first. So it came
Yeah.
out in 4 parts.
Yeah.
And I think the first part was released at the back end of 2016. What I'd also decided to do at the same time was get pregnant with my twins.
Yeah.
So 2016 was absolute chaos. And honestly, I don't really remember all that much about it. I just remember being like, okay, I'm having babies. I'm also having a book out. I've got no idea
Yeah.
what's going to happen. But I remember when my kids were very small, just kind of trying to snatch some time here and there
Mm.
to promote the Year of Saying Yes, but also to try and get an idea down for the next book. And honestly, I think that was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
That kind of we'd had the Year of Saying Yes had been successful, and then the pressure to then try and recreate that, to get that
Yeah.
back for book 2 was a real challenge. And in the end, what happened was that Hachette had a second IP for me. So I ended up writing, I think in total, I've done 3 IPs, and my
Yeah.
last 3 have been my ideas. So yeah, I mean, 2016, 2017 was just like a mad blur of book
I can
babies
imagine.
and real life babies. So I mean, I'm really not that great at giving much information
No. No,
about that
I'm, not 1 baby, but 2 babies. And yeah,
time.
that's intense, isn't it, too, at the same
Yeah.
time. So yeah, I can imagine that throwing a book deal in there as well. It's like, yeah, a
Yeah.
blur
Yeah, yeah.
time of the
But
year.
I definitely remember thinking, I really have no idea what I'm meant to be doing. And so, as I was saying, it feels like only more recently I've kind of feel like I've hit my stride a bit with
Yeah.
things. And I've since moved to HarperCollins. I'm with HQ
Yeah.
Digital now. And my last 3 books have all been my ideas, and that's been really important for me, I think, because
Mm.
doing an IP is amazing because your editor comes to you with a title and a kind of like a brief outline of where they want the story to go. And in a sense, that's really kind of reassuring because you know already that the publishers
Yes.
like that idea, and
Yeah.
therefore you've automatically got the backing for it. So
Mm.
that's great. But when it came to writing the pickup, which was my 4th book, I just kind of got this idea, and I was desperate to get that down. Again, a bit like with the first manuscript that never
Yeah.
got published, I was kind of like itching to write it. So when I pitched it as an idea and it got accepted, that was just like the best feeling, because that
I
was
can
kind of like, okay,
imagine.
so you know what you're doing, you can write the books, but now you can
Yeah.
also kind of originate the ideas too.
Yeah. And how, I mean, in terms of that progression, what do you think, or how did you think you grew from that first manuscript that's still unpublished to, let's even go now with your 6th book coming out, right? Or even your 4th book where you came up with the whole idea. What do you think it took for you to get to that point?
I think just dogged determination. Just being like a not wanting to let go of it, just kind of
Yeah.
having had that initial success, and the rush of signing up to a big publisher was just such an incredible feeling. And I don't ever want to not be doing this,
Yeah.
so, but I think I've learned a lot. And just in the kind of process of writing books, you get to a point where you think, okay, I feel like I know what I'm doing a bit more now. But yeah, and also kind of reading books like on how to structure novels has been really
Yes.
useful. So stuff like that has definitely helped. And also getting out there, talking to other authors,
Mm.
hearing other people's advice, that kind of thing. And yes, I do feel like I've hit my stride now. So you hear stories about people who plot the
Yes.
heck out of their novels.
Yeah.
And also other authors have said, they literally don't plot a thing. They just sit down
Yeah.
and write. And I think I fall kind of halfway between
Yeah.
those two. I'm not a massive plotter, but I
Yeah.
definitely know roughly where I want to go with things.
Yeah.
but I couldn't just, although I'm desperate to sit and get into the book, I get myself a notebook and I have to start writing some ideas first. Otherwise,
Yes.
it's just going to get messy.
Yeah, yeah. And you could go on a complete tangent, right? And then you're like, where is this
Yeah.
story going? And then you have
Yeah.
to almost backtrack again. What do you think is like the biggest challenge that you've faced then from, very first drafting that manuscript that's unpublished still and maybe might come out one day to where you are now? What do you think is like a challenge that you've managed to overcome or maybe do differently if you were to go back?
I think timing wise, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have had Kids in a First Book out at the same time, because I feel like if I'd have known what was coming around the corner, I might
Mhm.
have tried to, focus on one or the other
Yes.
rather
Yeah,
than
yeah,
both.
yeah.
But there's never the right time. There's never the right time to have kids. There's never a perfect time to write a book. You've just got to go with, with your gut and just kind of make the
Yeah.
most of situations. So timing's been tricky. Also, I think the industry is a really interesting one. And I've actually managed to work through about, I think, 5 editors now. I haven't had a few of my author friends have just got their editor and they've had
Yeah.
them since day dot. And they're like best mates. And I really love that. I think that's so nice. But I've got a terrible track record with
Yeah.
editors. I'm trying not to take it personally.
Yeah.
I don't think it is personal. And actually, that's one of the lovely things about the publishing industry, because people are keen to move and they're hungry
Yeah.
for different jobs and all of that sort of stuff, which is exactly how it should be. But it just means that I've not had that sort of consistency
Yeah.
working through. But, I'm not complaining. It's a real privilege to be here. So yeah.
Yeah. And you've got the same agent, haven't you? You've had the same agent from the
Yes.
start, which kind of helps. But yeah, I mean, with the editors, you're probably going to have to deal with different styles, right? And different feedback and processes, which when you get used to one, it's then like, okay, I've now got to adapt to someone else, then
Yeah.
someone else. But that's probably testing you as well, right? That's testing your ability to not only work with different editors, but being able to adapt quite quickly to kind of what they want to see from you as well, which is a
I
skill
love
in
that.
itself.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, keeping me on my toes. That's
Yeah.
very positive of you, Lisa.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that.
So I mean, you've got your 6th book coming out.
Mhm.
Where does a lot of your inspiration come from?
So yeah, 6th book, The Long Haul, is coming out.
Yeah.
Here's my prop for anyone who's
I love the
watched.
cover, by the way.
It's here. She's beautiful, isn't she?
Yeah, I really love it.
This is the front cover and this is the back cover. But for anyone who's
Oh.
actually going to buy it, I promise it will be the right way round.
I
I don't
thought
have
that was that, a lot of books, I don't even know what you call the
the
other
spine.
side. Not the spine, the other side, a lot of books now have where the pages end. Have you seen some of those books with the
Oh,
pages? What do they
yes.
call I don't know what they
Oh
call
God,
that bit.
I don't know.
No.
I don't think it has got that. I think it's
No, it
just
doesn't. No, I thought
no.
it had because it
Yeah.
looked like it was the other way round. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you've done that as well. And I was going to ask you what that is called. I'm going to look that up afterwards because,
You don't mean spreages, do you? Sprayed edges?
yes, that must be it. Is that what they
This
call
bit
them?
where it's all beautifully, it's got
Yes.
like a pattern. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'd love a spread. That's the dream one day. You can do classes where you go and actually like take a
Oh,
book and then you
really?
can decorate your own
Oh,
sprayed
wow.
edge.
That's
I know,
new.
I'm desperate to do it. It sounds like so much fun. But when do we find the time for these
I
things?
know. I know. And I do have to say, I did buy a book based on having, what are they called? Spreadges,
Sprayed edge.
sprayed edge.
Yeah.
Whoever thought of that? It's classic.
But you know what? You can judge a book by its cover, I think. I think that's
Yes.
okay because there's
Yeah.
so many clever covers out there, so beautiful and eye-catching. So, I
It's
think
so
that's all
true.
right.
Oh, 100%. We look with our eyes. Like it's when you have food, isn't it? You taste through your eyes first of all before you even take a mouthful.
Yes.
So if something looks not very pleasant, you might think, oh, that's not going to be very nice. So yeah, same with a book. I think covers are very important. And do you have much say in your covers now?
Well, so for the long haul, I kind of embarrassingly drew my ideal front
Wow.
cover using stick people.
Yeah.
and sent I'll have to show you it. It's ridiculous. I think I've got it somewhere. But yeah, I sent it to my editor and I was like, hey, so don't want to brag, but I've actually got art as an A level. So I'm very arty. And then sent her this like pencil and stick person drawing. And I think she was like, oh, okay. But just because there's a very obvious hook with the long
Yes.
haul. And I was kind of like, okay, so this could really, really work. But in the end, they've gone for this really quite beautiful sort of pink and yellow cover. And it's
Yeah.
just got this plain taking off at the top. And then you've got your main character, Nina, in the middle, and she's surrounded by the two love interests who join her on her journey. So they've done a fantastic job. Yes, I have some say, I think now, sort of 6 books in, I just have the confidence to be like, do you
Yeah.
know what? I don't like that, or I do like that. At the start, I remember some of my early book covers thinking the first examples that were sent to me thinking, oh, they're really quite sort of, there's a lot of love hearts and there's a lot of
Yeah.
like sparkle and stuff, which didn't feel very me because I feel like I write more of a kind of like fresh and funny
Yes.
romantic comedies. They're a bit more contemporary and a bit less sort of cozy.
Yeah.
So all the abundance of hearts I wasn't massively keen on, and in the end didn't really sort of stick around for too long, thankfully. And now we've got kind of, it's gone a bit sort of edgier, a bit cooler. So I'm
Yeah.
really, really chuffed with that. But in terms of inspiration for
Yeah.
the long haul, I actually flew to Australia and I went with my dad. My family is Irish and we've got
Yeah.
a lot of Irish family over in Perth.
Amazing.
And we don't get to see them very often. And one of my cousins was getting married. So dad and I decided that we'd go. It also kind of coincided. He was 70, I was turning 40. So we were like,
Yeah.
let's just go on this great big trip. You know, my kids were old enough to be
Yeah.
left with my husband without any problems. So dad and I flew over to Oz and he stayed a bit longer than I did because I had to get back for work.
Yeah.
And on the flight back, I was kind of like, oh, wow, this is a long time to be in the air. As you know,
Yes. Yeah.
it's like, what am I going to do? I've watched this one film a lot already. And so the idea just came to me. I was thinking, you know, what if you got stuck on a long haul flight and you had your hot but hideous colleague sat next to you who'd been sent along with you on this journey? And what if, while you were kind of waiting to take off, you saw the one that got away, your ex-boyfriend, who you kind of was the pinnacle of boyfriends, also boarding the same flight? And then, you know, what happens if you get trapped in a time loop and you keep reliving this flight over and over again? So it really came to me on the flight. And by the time I landed, I'd got a new note on my phone where I'd been sort of tapping
Yes.
away all these ideas, lots of exclamation marks and
Yeah.
things like that. And that was that. I came back, put it into a pitch and took it to my agent and my editor. And they were both really enthusiastic about it. I think because it's got that
The time loop piece.
time loop rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like it does what it says on the tin, but there aren't masses of time loop rom-coms out there.
It's a bit
So
like Groundhog Day. I mean, Groundhog Day is kind of
yes,
a romance, but not. But it's that time loop piece, isn't it? Where every day he wakes up the same, and then he has to do something different, doesn't he, to get to the
yes,
end?
exactly. And that proved it was actually really fun because so my main character Nina gets on the flight from Heathrow,
Yeah.
manages to get herself to Perth, but then something happens at Perth Airport that I won't go into details because that's sort of part of the story. And the next thing you know, she's woken up on travel day again. So she's back getting ready to get to Heathrow to get on the
Yeah.
flight all over again. And it kind of had quite a lot of challenges because what I did not want it to be was just really boring. Just like, you
Yeah.
know, we just sat on this one seat with this one person next to us doing the same thing over and over. But actually, it kind of presented, as I was writing, it presented itself with loads of opportunities to meet new people. And she ends up like swapping seats at one point. She gets an upgrade at one point. So there was lots of different, I was able to move her around that plane,
Yeah.
but also offer her lots of other stories to
Yeah.
get into as well. So
Meeting different
it was so much
people.
fun.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can imagine that's a really great twist to it in terms of like thinking outside the box of, hey, let's just do a romance around, you know, meeting someone on a plane and then seeing where the story goes. I do love that time loop piece. I think that's classic. And you're right. I haven't read anything like that recently. Like, I love reading all different genres, but romance is like one of my number one. I always go to like, I think it's just like an escapism sometimes. I love reading them. I probably read so many that I always start guessing what's going to happen anyway.
Yes.
But I haven't read one like that, like, for a while, so I love that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah, I felt the same, and I kind of really wanted to have a go at, um, it's called speculative fiction, isn't it? That kind of
Yeah,
world of what if, but I
yeah,
knew that I wanted to stay within my rom-com lane as well, because that's just what I
yeah,
love. So I was kind of like, "Okay, well, can we do sci-fi and romance without it being, like, weirdly sci-fi?" Because 'Cause I'm not
yeah,
a sci-fi fan. Um, I find that sort of element, it just doesn't
yeah,
float my boat. But I really liked the idea of just that one thing, that one kind of repeated
yeah,
action being fed into, your classic rom-com. So it was, yeah, it was enormous fun to write. But interestingly, it kind of, I had to take a different approach to it. So
mm,
I was saying earlier, I kind of fall halfway between the lots of plotting and the
yes,
fly by the seat of your pants type of situation. But with this one, I really did have to plot it because if I'd have just let my imagination run wild,
yeah,
would have got really messy, kind of being stuck in that loop.
yes, yeah,
And I think it would have got quite repetitive as well. So
mm,
I needed to know exactly what was happening every flight
yeah.
so that I could keep it hopefully fresh and fun.
Well, it sounds amazing. Have you had some feedback from it already from any of those advanced readers that have read it?
Yes, yeah, I had some lovely authors have had some really nice things to say about it, which is always such a boost. And yeah, some early readers have said some great things too. I try not to read reviews. I'm kind of,
Yeah,
it's like that thing where I'm kind of trying to stop myself from
yeah,
going online, because I remember the first ever review I read of The Year of Saying Yes all those years ago was like a 2-star review on Amazon, and I was thinking like, "Oh my god, this is so awful." I
yeah,
still remember the reviewer's name because it's lodged up here, like I won't let that go. So now I'm trying not to, because I just don't find it all that helpful. I think
no,
there's gonna be people who love it, there's gonna be
yeah,
people who don't like it, and you can't please everybody. So
no,
as part of my personal growth,
yeah.
I'm working on not really reading those reviews, unless they're 5 stars, in which case I will definitely
Yes,
read
you
them.
will spread those funds.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
interesting because, I can't remember who I spoke to now, one of the authors that I've chatted to, and they said, like, those reviews on Goodreads or, on Amazon aren't for the author, they're for the readers. And so they try and avoid it as much as possible. And also, I mean, you've got a lot of bookstagrammers as well. There's a couple of bookstagrammers I know that they won't even post, like if it's under 3 stars, they won't post
Mhm.
about it. At 3 stars and above, they'll post, which I think's quite nice because a lot of them will
Yeah,
tag author. So it's showing like, okay, I'm reviewing, but I'm only going to put the positive out there. The ones that maybe I don't like, I'll leave that to my own personal judgment, which I think is great because
yeah.
I'm one of the people, like, I'm really bad at leaving reviews for people as it is, like whether it's a book or a restaurant. But I always think, like, if you've got nothing good to say, don't say it. Constructive
Absolutely.
feedback, but again, like, who, if there's a reader who's never gone through the process of what you have gone through as an author, who are they to tell you how to write, because they haven't been through the same journey? It's fine for them to talk about obviously your book, etc., but again, I think we just need a little bit more positivity in the world, and
Oh my
unfortunately
goodness.
people who post reviews aren't always that way.
Yes, I am here for that positivity. We really do. Like, the world is
Yeah.
a terrifying place at the moment. So,
Yes.
but that's why, rom-coms are doing so well. That's why the genre in general is booming, because people are looking for that kind of light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm.
So it feels lovely to be part of that. But yeah, as for negative reviews, I mean, sometimes people will tag me into negative reviews and I'm like, don't do that.
Oh my god.
It's like what you tell your kids, isn't it? If you've got nothing
Yeah.
nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't come and tell me to my face,
Don't
like,
seek me out and
I
slap
don't
me
wanna
around the face.
know.
I don't want to know.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. And there's so many more, I don't know where you are, if there's a lot of, do you have independent bookstores where you are?
Yes,
Build.
yes.
Are they starting to come around, like, more romance bookstores?
Well, yeah, I actually just went to visit some of the indies in Sheffield not long ago. And yeah, definitely. We've got a lovely bookshop called Juno Books, which, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Were saying to me not long ago that they're finding now that more than ever, people are seeking those kind of uplifting stories and stuff, like the things that you expect to be doing well, particularly kind of like crime around Christmas time, apparently is very
Oh,
popular. But even that seems to have died off, or so I'm told, because people are sort of seeking that good news, that happy ending, that
Yeah.
type of stuff. But yeah, it's amazing. And I was up in Edinburgh not long ago, and they've got a real beautiful number of independent bookstores, like romance only bookstores,
Yeah.
that sell books written by women, that type of thing. So it's so nice to feel like there is that focus on
Yes.
our type of books out there, because we need the representation. And yeah, it's lovely to get out and go and have a browse around these beautiful stores.
Yeah, yeah, we've got some in Sydney actually. I haven't been to all of them, but there's started to pop up, which I think is brilliant. I think
Mm.
go and support those independent bookstores. I mean, the chains are good as well, and they stock a lot more. Probably going to say, although I have been in some bookstores recently and seen quite a few British authors, which is really, really lovely to see. So I could see your book in Dimmocks when it comes out. If it comes out and it's there, I will tag you.
Thank you. Please do. I actually, when we came to Perth, when my dad and I flew out, I did a very mini sort of book signing in Dimmocks because they'd got the pickup.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was the first time I'd seen my book in a bookstore. So honestly, it was the
Yeah,
weirdest.
I
It was
can.
the
Yeah,
weirdest feeling because I was on the other side of the world with my
yeah.
dad, and that was the first time I'd seen a paperback in a bookstore. Because my publishers are digital first, so their
Yes.
focus is digital sales.
Yeah.
It's really, digital is amazing, but it's also
Yeah.
so nice to have a physical copy of a book in your hand and to be
Yeah.
able to see it in bookstores. So yeah, that was a real thrill. I love Dimmocks. Shout out
Yeah,
Dimmocks.
ours huge. Yeah, the one in Sydney is massive. I went in there the other week and I was like, God, I've forgotten how big this is. But yeah, it's lovely. I do love going in a bookstore, and they make it so cozy now. Like it's so
Oh,
inviting. Like you got reading corners, and I mean, don't get me wrong. There's like everything possible to do with books that you could buy. And I took my kids with me, which was the wrong
oh,
thing to do because they're just picking up. Can we have this? Can we have that?
yeah.
No, Mummy's come to buy some books, and we're not buying presents for you today.
Oh, that's almost impossible though, isn't it, when you're out with them because they just assume that it's all about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true. It's very true. On your writing style then, like you said that you're in between that kind of plotter and pantser kind of style. But when it comes to like, are you someone that writes and edits as you go along, or do you just get it all on paper and then revisit and then go through the edits that way?
I used to edit as I went, but that I was finding that I was getting myself really stuck on the opening chapters
Mm.
and without really knowing 100% where the book was going. So more recently, and particularly I'm just working on book 7 as we speak. With that one, I'm literally just writing it, and I know when I read it back that it's going to be like real bad
Yeah.
and it's going to need a lot of work, but I'm kind of forcing myself not to look back
Yeah.
because I just want to get the bare bones of the book together.
Yeah.
And then my plan is to kind of go through and do like a kind of layering approach. So
Yeah.
check the structure. And then once I've got that down, then I'll go back in and add more kind of personality to the characters. This is not something I've really done before, so I'm just kind of
Okay.
giving it a go and seeing what happens. But again, with this book, book 7, it's another speculative rom-com. So it's another
Yeah.
rom-com with a twist, and there's quite a lot going on. so,
Yes.
so I don't feel like I can dive too deep into all the
Yeah.
areas of it. I think
Mm.
I need to kind of get it out and then go back and work in the various bits and bobs. Yeah, so we'll see how it works out. I don't know
Yeah.
yet, but yeah, I'm definitely less of a edit as I go now than I used
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think everyone's got their own style, right?
Mm.
Think that's a great way, like layer, like, because I think sometimes you're right, you get too focused on the finer detail than you do actually, yeah, putting it down on paper.
Hmm.
So I think that's a great way to look at it. Just get your words out. Yeah.
Yes.
How, I mean, you've just said you're writing your 7th book. How long does it typically take you to write one of your novels? Does that vary in time frames?
Well, so the past 4 books have been part of 2 book deals.
Yeah.
So the Long Haul, which comes out this May, is the first of a 2 book deal.
Yeah.
And when I signed that deal, we agreed to timelines. So I think by the time book 7 comes out, I will have had one out every May for 4 years. So a book a year, basically.
Yeah.
But, I went to a festival, a romance festival, which, as you were talking about the indie bookshops, there's
Yeah.
also loads of beautiful romance festivals
Yeah.
happening now. And I went to one last year and watched a talk by Cress McLaughlin.
Yeah.
who knocks out like 3 or 4 books a year, I think.
Yeah.
And it was just incredible. And then another person on the panel, another author, was writing it more than that. And I was so impressed. I came away like, can't believe I only do one a year. This is so lazy.
Oh,
But
it's hard though, isn't it? Like,
yes.
because I think even like, I mean, people write under different pen names as well. And I've had some authors on here who write under different pen names, and they're all very different. Like some are able to write simultaneously.
Hmm.
Some like literally have to finish one, then they'll go into the different like different style, different genre, and then you do it that way. Yeah, it's quite complex, I can imagine. And I think
Oh
you've got
my
to have
gosh.
time and dedication. I spoke to one author once, and she was writing 3 in a year, and she said it was becoming quite exhausting, and under different pen names as well. And she was saying, yeah, it's quite exhausting, and she's probably going
Yeah.
to drop it down to 2.
I can totally imagine that because you're promoting one, you're writing one,
Yeah,
and that in itself feels like a lot. But and then to be having sort of 2 more on the boil as well, I'm
yeah,
in awe of that. I think it's incredibly impressive. So I manage one a year, but yeah, it takes probably from start to finish on a first draft, and that will be a pretty ropey first draft.
mm,
5 months minimum, 5 to 6 months, I'd say. And then it depends on the edits. Like for the long haul, I had so few edits, which was an absolute first. Like that's never happened to me before. Usually I've got like pages and pages. I don't know if you remember, but in Friends, when Ross and Rachel break up and she writes him
yes,
this huge letter explaining all the things that were wrong and why
yeah,
they were definitely not on a
yeah.
break. And he's kind of reading, he's like, 18 pages, front and back. That's like my edits.
They
I'm
fell
like, oh,
fell
I'm at
asleep, did
peace.
they?
Yeah, yeah. That's the exact same situation for me normally, but not with the long haul. So that was a very light edit, which was amazing. But the editing process itself can take, a couple of months.
Yeah,
So yeah, it just depends each time. But usually if I'm doing one a year, then usually it's sort of 6 months to write the first draft and then we
yeah.
we see.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, you kind of described about the long haul. Do you want to just give a brief like synopsis about it, just so it's kind of like wrapped nicely for people to hear about, so we can get them going out and buying your book?
I would love that. Yes, please. So, The Long Haul is a time loop rom-com, and in it, main character Nina is traveling to Perth in Australia for a massive work opportunity. So, she gets up and gets herself off to Heathrow. She's very excited. But when she gets to Heathrow, her boss sends her a message with some devastating news. Her horrific colleague, Callum, is going to be joining her on the trip. Nina is fuming because Nina does not like Callum. He is the worst. But she has to put up with him. So they start arguing as soon as he turns up. They sit down. It turns out they're on the same row, same seats. They're literally right next to each other. So she realizes she's going to have, 12 hours till Singapore, stuck with this horrendous colleague. But as they take off, Nina spots the one that got away, her ex-boyfriend, who she has held a candle for 10 years, boarding the same flight. She hasn't seen him for 10 years either. So that gives her some hope and some excitement for the journey. And she spends the rest of the flight trying to figure out how to get back into Hamish's good books. Hamish was her ex. When she lands at Perth Airport, something happens to poor old Nina, something very tragic and also hilarious. And she wakes up and it's Monday, travel day, all over again. So she finds herself reliving this flight with her 2 love interests and kind of asking a lot of questions of her own life and trying to figure out who might be the best love interest for her after all.
I love it. Sounds amazing. I know. I like, as we've said, I think that time loop piece is going to be, monumental in it, and yeah, get people hooked, wanting to see all different things that happen every time it restarts.
There's a lot of fun to be had in the time looping. And yes, she ends up getting into all kinds of scrapes as she tries to figure out, where she needs to be going with her life. So yeah, it's a good one. I really enjoyed writing it and I have had some lovely feedback, which has been so nice.
Amazing. Well, before we go, one last question, because as you may be aware, I mean, my listeners vary from published authors to self-published, traditional, all the way down to aspiring or emerging authors as well. So I always like to ask the question when I get the opportunity is, what piece of advice would you give someone who is maybe looking to start writing or has written a manuscript and is thinking about sending it off to an agent or publisher? Anything that you would say to them to kind of give them that inspiration to keep going?
I think for anyone who's just started to write, it's just a case of keep going. Like, you've taken the first and trickiest step. So
Yeah.
you're already there. You just need to get the manuscript finished. And it can seem quite daunting at first because it is a lot of words to put down on paper. And no one writes, 100,000 words just randomly, normally. So it's a big step. But don't put yourself under too much pressure. Just grab the time that you can. I've got one of my author friends writes most of her books literally on her phone when she can. So, don't worry about setting aside great swathes of time for it. It's just, in my case, when I was writing my second book, that was when my children were very small. So it would be like when they were napping or once they'd gone to bed, just kind of squirrel away an hour here or there. So just write is my advice for anyone who's just started kind of putting those words down, and you'll get there, and enjoy it. Because if you're writing and you're enjoying what you're writing, then 100% there'll be other people who want to read and enjoy your book as well. And if you've got a manuscript together already, I think agent representation is really important, because like my job is to write the words. I do not know how the business side of things works at all. Even at this point, I'm kind of like, mostly clueless as to how it all kind of works behind the scenes. So agent representation, I think, is really important. And you can find, if you read one of your favorite books, in the acknowledgements section at the end of each book will be a shout out to that author's agent. If you like their books, it's worth approaching their agent as well. And there's like lists and stuff available online as well to figure out who the best agents are and who's open to submissions. But yeah, get yourself an agent, get the words down, and good luck. Just enjoy it, because it is enormous fun.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And yeah, I think it doesn't matter where you are, in your journey, it's just keep going, have that persistence. And, a lot of authors have shared with me as well that it has been challenging at times. They've had some knockbacks, they haven't got that instant deal, but they've had such a passion and love for it. And that's what's been the driver for them. And it's then equated to them getting published because they never gave up. And I think that's the key. If you give up, you're almost kind of giving yourself a no already.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely.
you love it that much, keep writing and then listen to the feedback, maybe join an association, get some author friends, like anyone that can provide you some feedback around, like, maybe your words or your storyline, etc. And then you can hone your skill, and then hopefully it might turn into something, more serious for them.
Exactly. It's you've got to have self-belief, and something that's also really important as you move through your career will be just developing that kind of thick skin. So if you can believe in yourself, then that really helps. And I think the common misconception is that authors are signing like 6-figure deals left, right, and center, like every day there's just another 6-figure deal to sign. And that's not the case. It's not a well remunerated profession.
No.
So you have to love it. You have to love what you're doing.
Yeah. Unless you become Emily Henry or Colleen Hoover or someone like that, where, your books are being turned into movies or adapted.
Yeah.
You've got to start out somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're working on it, obviously.
Yeah.
But don't expect. I mean, some people do, and that's amazing. And it will have highs and lows. There will be times when things are looking really rosy and times when things really aren't looking rosy. But it's that kind of staying consistent and believing in yourself. And yes, as I say, just having fun with it.
Yeah, so true. So where can people find you or follow you?
Okay, so I'm on social media. I'm attempting TikTok, but I don't think I'm young enough for TikTok.
No.
I sort of
I get that.
I don't really get
I
it.
don't know about you, but I don't want to be standing. I don't know. There's
Doing
other
a
people
dance.
who are probably older than us that are doing it, but
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not one of those people that would stand and do the dance. Yeah, unless my niece,
No.
grabbed me to do it. But yeah, I'm not doing it on the.
Exactly. No, I'm not dancing on TikTok. So don't follow me if that's what you're after. But I do sort of bang on about my books and like the writing process on there. And I'm also, I read recently that the best thing to do is focus on like a couple of social media. So put most of your attention on two. So I've been on Instagram for ages, and I'm also doing a bit of TikTok, but I'm a kind of across the board on social media as at by Hannah Doyle, by Hannah Doyle. So you can find me there. And I'm also kind of gadding about a bit this year. So I've got a few events coming up, which I'm really looking forward to, some bookshop signings and another romance festival actually this year called Once Upon a Time, which is a new one in Newcastle. And so that's going to be great fun, which is like romance and fantasy, I think.
Amazing.
So a few events, a few online things as well, obviously chatting to your lovely self, Lisa.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to kind of stay updated, then I think at by Hannah Doyle is where you can find me.
Fantastic. Well, I've absolutely loved hearing your story and having you on the podcast. So thank you for sharing it with us. And I'm wishing you all the best. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get your book over here, because unfortunately I don't have a Kindle at the moment, and I'm someone who I do love holding a physical book. Although someone said to me, "But when you go on holiday, Kindle's really good," and I was like, "Yeah, when I go on holiday."
I know.
You know, I've got 3 kids, so that's quite hard at times. And
holidays aren't holidays anymore, right?
No, and
it's
like,
just mostly like clearing hummus off children.
Yeah, I'm not sitting there reading a book because my kids want me to, be jumping in the pool with them and cleaning up after them.
Well, I'll have a look. I'll see. Hopefully, it'll be coming out in Oz, but I'll keep you posted.
If
on
not,
that
I can get my parents. Like my mum's a big reader as well. So we kind of since I've been doing this podcast, I've been sending her books, or I've been giving her recommendations.
Oh, I love that. It's obviously in the genes. Just the love of reading.
My sister's a huge reader as well. So she lives in Melbourne, funny enough. So she'll come over and she'll actually just bring me a pile of books to read. Yeah, so it's
amazing.
Really nice. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Hannah. I'm wishing you all the best, and I'm gonna follow your journey still. And I can't wait to read it.
Thank you for having me. I've absolutely loved this. It's been really nice to talk to you.
Oh, you're welcome.